Good morning and welcome to the weekly reminders. My name is Lauren Hall and I am a program coordinator with Remind. I hope you had a great Memorial Day weekend and that your week has been great thus far and that you're remaining safe. Today's episode is about 4 ways to overcome negative thinking. Do you often find yourself stuck in your own head, caught in an endless spiral of negative thinking? Or maybe it's an overly judgmental inner voice that's constantly pointing out past mistakes or perceived faults. Or maybe it's constant worry about the future in comparison to other people. Well, most of us spend a lot of time in our own minds, worrying about the future, replaying past events, or focusing on parts of our lives that leave us dissatisfied. It can feel like a real internal battle in our minds. For many of us, negative thinking patterns are a source of tremendous emotional suffering and anxiety. In fact, they are the key drivers of both depression and anxiety. While common, negative or unwanted thoughts can prevent us from enjoying experiences, distracting us from focusing on what's important to us, and draining our energy. Negative thought patterns are repetitive, unhelpful thoughts. They directly cause what we might describe as negative emotions, such as anxiety, depression, stress, fear, and even shame. When our emotions are heightened and when certain things happen in our day-to-day, they can really cause a negative shift in our thinking. While negative thinking can completely be automatic and outside our control, with the right practice and techniques, we can learn to recognize and identify negative thought patterns that can occur when we step back and take a look at what really the starting point of them. And so the process of stepping back and kind of looking at those thoughts is called cognitive restructuring. I know it's a big word, right? But it's a powerful technique that helps to undo those negative thinking patterns. And cognitive restructuring, the principle is just based on how we feel emotionally. It's not a result to what's happening to us, but instead what we think about what's happening to us. This means that we can change the way we feel by changing the way we think. There is a real big connection between the way we think, the way we feel, and then our behavior. It forces us to slow down and think about our thought process, gain a sense of awareness, and reflect on whether we need to change these bad mental habits. So you may say, well, what may be stopping us from seeing things a little clearer, or what may be creating these negative thoughts? Well, the majority of our negative thoughts are based on self-defeating beliefs that we have about ourselves, the world, and others, such as projecting our insecurities on others, still holding on to the past, self-limiting beliefs, the need for constant validation, or even the fear of uncertainty. The biggest thing to remember is that the difficulty isn't in the fact that we have negative thoughts. The problem comes in when we believe those thoughts are true. When we are no longer entangled in those thoughts, they can lose their power that generates unpleasant emotions. So how do we conquer and overcome these negative thoughts? Well, there are 4 ways. 1, being able to recognize thought distortions, right? So thought distortions are unrealistic, exaggerated ways of thinking that can lead to negative self-talk or overreacting emotions and mood. They are inaccurate thoughts enforcing negative thinking. So here are some common 5 distorted thoughts. So black and white thinking. Have you guys ever heard of that before? Seeing everything one way, right? It's black or white, right or wrong, yes or no, right? There's no middle ground. What about personalizing? Assuming that you are to blame for anything that goes wrong. Taking responsibility for things that you have little control over. That's another common thinking distortion. Another one is filter thinking. Choosing to see only the negative side of a situation. Even with COVID-19, a lot of us can be so focused on the negativity of the crisis that we get lost in that. And that can create a lot of negative thinking and also correlate to how we feel. Okay? Another one is emotional thinking. This thinking happens when What you feel controls what you think. Feelings are important, but your feelings can often play tricks on you. Okay, 2. So notice your automatic thoughts. Automatic thoughts are your default initial interpretation of what happens to us. So for example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, what's your first response? What's your automatic thought? Oh my God, he's a jerk. Oh my God, why are you going so fast? Right? That's usually an automatic thought. Or what about if you see an email from your boss late at night? Your automatic thought is, oh no, what did I do wrong? What did I forget to do? Right? Those thoughts are usually automatic. And we have them all the time. Most of the time, we either don't notice them or at times we vaguely kind of remember them. It's important to build a habit of becoming more aware of your automatic thoughts and really examining them closely. 3, challenge those negative thoughts. Whenever you have distorted thought, stop, evaluate whether or not it's accurate. Here are some questions you can ask yourself anytime that you may have a negative thought. 1, is there another way to look at this situation? How would I give somebody else advice if they were going through this situation or had that thought? Am I expecting more of myself than I do for others? Am I overestimating how much control and responsibility I have in this situation? Oftentimes, when we don't challenge those thoughts, we tend to think that they're true. But if we focus on challenging those negative thoughts, we will be able to counter those negative thoughts and have a more positive thinking or optimistic view of certain situations. And remember what I said earlier. The difficulty isn't in having negative thoughts, because we all have negative thoughts. The problem is when we decide to believe those thoughts and we believe that those thoughts are true. And those can really impact the way we feel and ultimately our behaviors. All right. So the fourth and final way to overcome these negative thinking is practice positive self-talk and providing yourself with positive affirmations. So positive self-talk is an internal dialogue, right? It's like self-encouragement, right? Sometimes when, just going through COVID, right? The things that I say to myself is, just keep going, just stay focused, right? Those are positive ways to get myself encouraged. It's going to be okay. It's going to be over soon. It's going to be it's only temporary, right? The fact that I miss my family, I'm FaceTiming them. They know I love them, right? That's all encouragement that I give myself so that I can feel better, right? And not allow those negative thoughts to bring me down in negative emotions, right? Giving yourself positive affirmations. Sometimes seeing positive words or inspiring images can be enough to redirect your thoughts. So for example, saying to yourself, I am enough. I will get through this. I'm in control of my emotions. I choose where I give my energy to. That's one of my favorites. Because especially with so much going on in the world, our energy can be so easily drained. And then when we are caught up in our minds and having that mental warfare going on up here, it can really create this overwhelming feeling. So being able to allow myself to choose how I want to be in control of my emotions, because we do have the control, right? Sometimes it may feel like we don't, but we do. And so just to recap, negative thinking patterns are repetitive, unhelpful thoughts that influence our emotions and our behavior. So there's a connection between the way we think, our emotions, and our behavior. Cognitive restructuring, I mentioned that a few minutes earlier, is a technique to help you undo negative thinking. And all of that means is restructuring the way you think, right? Being able to challenge those negative thoughts, all right? And there are 4 ways to overcome those negative thinking: by identifying those thinking errors, right? Of all or nothing thinking, that black and white thinking. Sometimes that can get us caught up, right? Or filter thinking or emotional thinking, right? Those are some examples of those thinking errors. Become aware of those old thoughts, right? Being conscious of those automatic thoughts that pop up in your head. And then challenge those negative thoughts and using positive self-talk. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I know it was a lot of information, but in this time of uncertainty and stress and feeling overwhelmed, sometimes our thoughts can get the best of us, and those thoughts can lead to our emotions. So we want to make sure that we focus on positive thinking and being aware, being emotionally aware of what we're going through. And it's okay, we all experiencing the same thing. And so I hope that this episode was very helpful. Please let me know whether or not you enjoyed this episode. Leave us a comment. Also, make sure you check out our website for updates and also additional resources. And if you haven't signed up already for our online support groups, please do. They are a great source of resource, a great resource, especially during this time. And so we thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful week. Be safe and stay connected. Thank you.